Welcome back to another Bit Here's video. Today we are making the second most recent Mythic fusion, which is Phorbon from Raid 7. In order to do that, we're going to need to make a Gorbundo, 3 Paulas, 3 Kaporis, and 3 Zalas. Now, to make Paula, you're going to need one of the epics from Raid 7, as well as one of the rare familiars that you're going to get from the Wardy dungeon, that is Zone 4 Dungeon 2. So you're going to need 3 of those in total, but to make this guy, you'll need one of them, and so we're going to click and do that right here, and there you go. So it's very similar to Flixie, the Blue Fox, just a fused version of it with a bunch of attacks that attack at the weakest. In order to make Kapori, we're going to need 2 epic familiars from Raid 7. Kapori's a little bit interesting. He's got a little bit of popularity as far as using him for PvP. However, I do think there are better options. Some people do like his attack weakest skill because it does a load of damage. And the last of the epic familiars, we're going to need to make Zalas. That's going to take one of the trees from Raid 7, as well as one of the trees from Raid 5. So if we can fuse them together, this is what we get. So Zala's got block and a 0 SP shield, but other than that, nothing too exciting here. And of course, making the legendary, you're going to need one of the raid bosses from Raid 6 and one of the raid bosses from Raid 7. And as with all the other familiars, you're going to need a handful of the materials that drop from Raid. Now, I would just want to remind everybody that item find does not increase the chance of dropping these materials, and your chance of dropping these is going to be 50%. So that means that to complete Phorbon, the Mythic familiar, you are going to need to run Raid 7 2,100 times. That's right, 2,100 times. And that is unfortunate because that means that stabling this familiar is out of reach for 99.999 repeating percent of the player base, which is really unfortunate because if you can't stable this familiar, he's going to underperform any legendary or even epic familiars that are stabled up, considering the way that augments work. So a little bit unfortunate that such a cool familiar is locked away, but that is the current state of the game right now. On the bright side, if you're just using regen, there's a good chance that if you're here through the entire tier, that you will be able to make the Phorbon just off your regen, which is essentially for free. So kind of a nice to have if you're one of the players that likes to really focus on your Pokedex. But as far as getting a lot of value out of him, again, since it's nearly impossible to stable a guy like this, that's going to be out of your reach. As far as his skills, he's actually got some really cool skills. He's got a very high damage coefficient on his skills because they are self-damaging skills, so he's going to pump out a ton of damage, and he's got the stat distribution to back that up as well. The most interesting thing about him, which is similar to Gorbundo and Gorbin, is that he has this pseudo-mount skill that can be used once per adventure. It hits like a truck, and it would be pretty interesting to use it in PvP if anybody was able to have enough familiars to stable him up. I have been told that the autopilot will use the skill, whereas the autopilot does not use the mount skill. And his bread and butter is going to be the attack furthest enemy skill, which also hits for a truck. So, really interesting familiar, really cool skill set. I would prefer if he was a damage reduction familiar over absorb, but since his absorb is 15%, it is large enough to work with. Still, really interesting guy. But that'll do it for this video. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.